David Morrison walked home, a paper bag swinging lightly at his side. Milk, bread, potatoes. Simple things for a quiet Sunday. The city was hushed, glued to the Phoenix's game on TV. David was a tall black man, 62, with a slight limp that told stories few asked about. Afghanistan, 2006. A mortar blast ended his army days, leaving shrapnel in his thigh and pain that never quite left. He wore his service cap with pride, though. People in Crestfall knew him. Kind to kids, calm, the man who handed out dollars for perfect attendance. That night, as he left Samir's market, the air felt heavy. He adjusted the grocery strap and started up Pendleton Street. That's when a tire screeched. A patrol car stopped hard across the intersection. Hey, hands where I can see them. David froze, confused. He raised one palm. What's going on? The officer, later, David would learn his name was Brian Dowlard, stepped out, gun already drawn. Stand still. The grocery bag slipped from David's fingers. Milk rolled toward the curb. He lifted both hands, army style. Palms out, no sudden moves. Sir, I'm not. The shot cracked like thunder. Pain exploded in his right arm. He fell backward, breath ripped from his lungs, warm blood soaking through his sleeve. He heard the officer yelling into his radio. Officer down. Suspect charged me. Shots fired. David lay stunned. I didn't do anything, he whispered from across the street. Jane Smith dropped her glass of sweet tea. David, she screamed, running barefoot toward him. Stay back. Dowlar barked, gun still leveled. He's not armed, Jane shouted. He was coming from the store. Neighbors spilled out. Phones came up. Corey, 17, hit record. Sirens wailed closer. Dallard's hands trembled on the gun. Another cruiser screeched in, and an officer rushed over. Brian, weapon down, he ordered. Only then did Dowlard lower the gun. Paramedics cut through David's sleeve, revealing a shattered humerus. It never fully regained that arm, they said later. At the hospital, his daughter Vanessa gripped his hand. Daddy, what happened? David's voice rasped. I was just walking home. Within hours, the department issued a statement. An officer feared for his life after an individual exhibited threatening behavior. The suspect is in stable condition. No name, no context, but Corey's video hit social media by nightfall. It showed everything. David still, hands high, then the shot. By morning, another angle surfaced from a nail salon's camera. No weapon, no aggression. The neighborhood erupted. Jane stood outside the precinct, blood-streaked blouse still on. He didn't lunge. He didn't shout, she told reporters. Dowlard stayed on active duty for 2 days. He's a good cop, said Lieutenant Burnham. People forget how fast things happen. By Thursday, protests swelled. National media arrived. Dowlard was finally placed on paid leave. Vanessa scrolled headlines in her father's hospital room. Veteran officer faces scrutiny. Split-second judgment or reckless force. David gave a brief statement outside the hospital. I served this country. Did everything right. And I got shot by someone who didn't see a man, just a target. The Civilian Review Board viewed Dallard's body cam. He never said freeze. Never warned David. Still, whispers filled City Hall. He said he feared for his life. In this state, that matters. David returned home to casseroles and handmade cards from kids. Glad you're okay, Mr. Morrison. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Nights were sleepless. His arm hung useless at his side, and the grand jury loomed. Cold air met David as he limped inside, brace visible under his sleeve. Across the room, Dowlard sat stiff beside his lawyer, Mason Bell. Cameras flashed. Judge Linda Braxton gavelled the room to silence. The prosecution started with the video. No commentary, just images, David walking, hands rising, gun firing. Jurors shifted uneasily. Jane testified first. Calm, clear. He had groceries in his hand. Bread fell out when they shot him. Cross-examination came sharp. Mrs. Smith, could you truly gauge the officer's perception of threat? She shot back. I don't need perception when I've got eyes. Then David took the stand, cane in hand. The prosecutor walked him through the day. Did you charge Officer Dowlard? No, sir. Did you feel your life was in danger? David paused. I still do. Bell rose slowly. Mr. Morrison, you understand officers make split-second decisions? I do. I made them in Afghanistan. And fear. Fear can cloud judgment. I've been scared, David said, voice steady. I didn't shoot anybody by mistake. Bell didn't blink. Would you agree someone might misread a movement in a tense moment? David opened his mouth, and that's when the doors burst open. David Morrison leaned forward slightly on the stand. That depends on what they're expecting to see, he said. His lawyer, Joel Bell, nodded. The courtroom was silent. No further questions, Bell said. As David stepped down, his daughter Vanessa squeezed his hand. You did good, Daddy. Next came Officer Brian Dallard, the man who shot David. I was patrolling when I saw Mr. Morrison. He looked tense, his hand near his side. I thought he might be reaching for something. You didn't see a weapon? The prosecutor asked. No, but I feared he had one. Why? He wasn't responding like I expected. Something felt wrong. I panicked. It happened fast. And after the shot, I realized he wasn't armed. I was devastated. Still am. Why didn't you issue a clear command before firing? I thought I did. I said, hey, that's not a command. Did you say freeze? Drop your weapon? No, because you didn't see a weapon, did you? No, but you shot anyway. Dallard swallowed hard. I made a mistake. That mistake nearly cost a man his life. The second day brought more heat. The prosecution's expert, retired Sergeant Ronald Keene, explained, standard procedure is verbal commands first. You never use lethal force unless a weapon is visible or there's a clear, immediate threat. And based on the footage, did Officer Dallard follow protocol? No, he never gave a clear command. He fired too quickly. Bell tried to soften the blow during cross. Sergeant, you know the split-second decision principle. Of course, but split-second doesn't mean reckless. Training is supposed to override panic. The defense called Dr. Laurie, a psychologist specializing in stress responses. Would you say Officer Dallard's reaction was consistent with acute fear? Bell asked, yes. Under high adrenaline, the brain interprets vague movements as threats. Because the brain protects first, rationalizes later. Exactly. On cross, the prosecutor pressed. Are you saying it's acceptable to shoot an unarmed civilian on instinct? I'm saying it happens, not that it's acceptable. Isn't judgment what separates a soldier from a trained officer? Yes, Laurie admitted. Judgment is everything. Two experts. Two versions of the same 2 minutes and 43 seconds. The courtroom buzzed. TV cameras crowded the steps outside. David sat rigid in the front row, his cane leaning against his chair. Vanessa beside him, jaw tight. The jury has reached a verdict, Judge Braxton announced. Officer Dallard rose as the foreman read. On the charge of aggravated assault, we find the defendant not guilty. The words landed like a punch. Murmurs, gasps, a stifled curse. Judge Braxton slammed her gavel. Order. Dallard stood motionless, then left with his attorney. No apology, no acknowledgement. Outside, protests erupted, justice denied. Fear is not a verdict. Walked home, shot anyway. On the courthouse steps, Joel told reporters, this verdict isn't surprising. The bar for convicting officers is impossibly high. But we're not done. A civil case is coming. David Morrison and this community deserves accountability. David said nothing. He didn't need to. That night, he sat on his porch, arm throbbing. Vanessa brought tea. I'm sorry, Daddy. He stared at the stars. They didn't see me. They saw a problem. A file. Not me. You're more than this. I know, he said. But knowing doesn't change the system. Down the street, kids biked past, protest signs still taped to their handlebars. One waved. This time, David raised his good arm and waved back. The civil suit settled quietly months later. David took the money but didn't feel victorious. I didn't ask for money, he told Joel. I asked not to get shot. Most of the payout went to a nonprofit helping veterans with PTSD.